It is related in the life of Saint Rose of Lima that she inherited from her mother, who was very timorous and apprehensive of danger. Nah, I don't want to read that one. She was afraid of the dark, and then she got over it. I'm going to read a more interesting one. Yeah. Wow. Let's read this one. Wow. Okay. Whoever serves God with a pure heart and setting aside all individual and human interests, seeks only God's glory, has reason to hope for success in all he does, and especially under circumstances when, according to human judgment, there is no help. For the divine works are above the sight of human prudence and depend upon a loftier principle. This holy cardinal, that's St. Charles Borromeo said that. This holy cardinal was accustomed to have recourse to God in all his affairs, and commenced, continued, and completed all his undertakings with prayer. The more arduous and important anything was, you did a great job with that semicolon. I think my insurance is what we are missing, semicolon. I would pay with that with my credit card, and my receipts are on record, as well as my cell phone bills. I think that's all we're missing. Sorry about that. So, the more arduous and important anything was, the more prayer he gave to it. And if it happened that something appeared not only difficult, but even hopeless, he did not recoil in the least. Don't recoil at all. All day long, I'm tempted to discouragement. Oh man, it's got to be a spiritual battle. All day long, I'm working alone. I'm dealing with this stressful stuff at work, and I'm praying. I keep praying, and I'm sad, right? But I'm like, I prayed through it. Still sad, but then I couldn't wait to get out of there. And now, what happened was I got to the church, and it's closed, of course. So you know what I did? To make reparation to the Sacred Heart, I knelt right in front of the door, the locked door, with my truck right there. And I said a decade of the Rosary in reparation to the Sacred Heart. We got to do it. We got to invent ways, new ways, whatever we got to do. Doesn't matter. So, and if it happened that something appeared not only difficult but even hopeless, he didn't recoil in the least, but urged himself forward with great spirit and redoubled his prayers. It was thus that he succeeded, to the wonder of all, in so many great affairs that seemed to human judgment impossible. The saint was once talking with a person of rank, whom he was trying to persuade to have confidence in God in all circumstances. Because he never abandons, even in the smallest things, those who put their trust in him. What's the smallest thing? It's the health of your dog. It's your kid's bird, and she's all upset that the bird is dying. Those are the little things. Those who put their trust in him, and by way of proof, he related the following incident, which had happened to him a little while before. He said that his house steward complained of being without money, and didn't know how to provide for the urgent needs of the house, and therefore requested him to be more sparing in alms and pious works, as it was by expenditure of that kind that the house was reduced to such extremity. But he replied only that he ought to trust in God, and hope for help from his divine majesty. This advice failed to satisfy him, and he went away much discontented. Within 2 hours there arrived a bundle of letters, among which was a bill of exchange for 3,000 crowns remitted to the saint from Spain. Sending for the steward, he gave them to him and said, "Take them, O thou of little faith. Behold, the Lord has not abandoned us." He added that this was truly a work of divine providence, for he was not expecting such a remittance, nor should it have been sent until 2 months later. We read also in the process of his canonization that at the time of the great conflicts with the king's ministers on the question of jurisdiction, and on account of the excommunications fulminated against them, the governor of Milan, with some of the secret council opposed to the cardinal, often thought of taking rigorous measures against his person, as they knew no other way to hinder him from defending the rights of his church. But every time that they assembled in the king's council to settle upon something, the thought changed in their minds, and the words upon their lips, so that they could come to no resolution against him. They themselves were bewildered and greatly amazed at this, not knowing to what they should ascribe their change of purpose. But doubtless it was the result of his great confidence in God, in reward of which God blessed all his enterprises, removed all obstacles, and brought them to a happy ending. It ought, however, to be noticed, as the writer of the life well observes, this is St. Charles Borromeo, that this confidence of the saint was altogether regulated by Christian prudence. He was most watchful in keeping himself from the vicious extreme of presumption. He never exposed himself to unnecessary dangers, or entertained extravagant plans of little advantage to the service of God, and not weighed deliberately and wisely. He employed due diligence and precaution, and on certain occasions he did not refuse human aid, not taking it, however, as his chief reliance, but in subordination to divine providence. All this is clearly to be seen in the prudent regulations that he made when the city of Milan was desolated by the plague, and on 1,000 other well-known occasions. It's just a little bit of confidence. A year with the saints. Okay. So we come to this next part. And we last left off, it's getting really important, really into the meat of this book. So what to do on the feast day and what to do on the vigil of the Sacred Heart. So, we should, if possible, consecrate the whole of the feast day to honoring the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. The whole of the feast day. We should, if possible, consecrate the whole of the feast day to honoring the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. We should put off to some other time all unnecessary business and deny ourselves all useless amusement, for the smallest moments of the day are infinitely precious. On rising in the morning, we should prostrate ourselves and adore Jesus Christ. Okay, the feast day. Number one, spend the whole day consecrate the whole day to honoring the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. Let's see what he means by that. Two, avoid all unnecessary business. Oh, did I tell you? Oh, I just got a pain in my back. That is the key to my new F-150. I got a massage today. I went to Massage Luxe, L-U-X-E, and I said, I need a guy to massage my back. Okay. The guy was good. And now I'm sore. I can't call it pain, but it's soreness. Let me tell you something. It's worth it. They only charged me $30 for the hour. It's an introductory. They give me a little discount because I was working there. So they charged me $30. I gave the guy $20 tip. He was good. So I started preaching to him about how to market his skills and get out of working for a massage therapist office, whatever you call it. It's not a massage parlor. No. By the way, Bishop Sanborn, I asked him, can I get a massage? He said, you can't go to a massage parlor. We know what they're all about. And he says, you can't have a woman do it, which I wasn't going to have him do it anyway. Just so you know. We run everything by the priest, if we have to. Okay. So we avoid all unnecessary business, amusements. You see what it means to honor the Sacred Heart of Jesus? Do you see? Nobody's doing this. Please join me. Let's do it together. Nobody's doing it. Let's do it together. Let's make Jesus happy. He's very sad. Jesus is very, very sad. You know, in his human heart, he's very sad. How can God be sad? Doesn't that mean he needs something? Well, in his human heart, there's something called experimental knowledge that Jesus gains by experience. I'm not even going to get into it. He's God, but he also has a human heart, and his heart is sad. It's sad because people don't love him. They don't love him. I'm so tired. I got up early. Wow. I got up early, spoke to the Sacred Heart, then went back to sleep. So we avoid all unnecessary work. On rising, now watch this. Upon awaking, prostrate yourself. and adored Jesus Christ. Accompanying this act of adoration with all the sentiments of which a heart inflamed with love is capable. With sentiments of love. Okay. Offering him all that we are to do in honor of his sacred heart, to requite his love and his benefits. Unrequited love. To requite his love okay. Those who have the happiness of having Jesus Christ under their roof should hasten on that day to pay him the first visit. Those less favored should hasten to visit him as soon as possible. Visit as soon as possible. Confession should be accompanied with greater and more perfect sorrow. 4. Confession. With great sorrow. Confession should be offered with great sorrow. Then ordinarily, as the thought of our own ingratitude and our own want of reverence, and we should accuse ourselves, at least in general, of any irreverence committed. Confess any irreverence we have committed. Then we should prepare for a very fervent Holy Communion. 5. Prepare for a fervent communion. In a communion of reparation, in reparation, for the faults of our own communions, and then for the sins of others. Our profound respect before Jesus Christ should be a visible proof of our desire to repair our past want of reverence. The ardent love, the tender devotion, and lively faith with which we receive Holy Communion should be a mark of our sincere desire to make reparation in some manner for the coldness, incredulity, and irreverence with which so many receive communion. Receive with great reverence, love, honor, to repair for coldness, irreverence. See, we have this feast day coming up soon. It's in June. Touched by sensible regret at seeing Jesus Christ so little loved and even so much insulted in the Blessed Eucharist, we should receive him as a God irritated by man's sins. So I'm going to make that one. Receive him as a God irritated by man's sins. whom we wish to appease as a Savior rejected by the multitude, whom we accept as our King, as a spouse disgusted by man's indifference, whom we wished henceforth to love perfectly. Penetrated with most tender and affectionate sentiments, we should approach the holy table with great modesty and profound humility. As the feast of the Sacred Heart is the feast of the infinite love of Jesus Christ, love should inspire each one with sentiments and affections proper to this feast of love. Immediately after communion, compare the excessive love of Jesus Christ with your own extreme ingratitude. After communion, compare the great love of Jesus Christ against your own extreme ingratitude. Prostrate yourself humbly at his feet, humble in mind and with a heart pierced with sorrow at the sight of so many outrages which Jesus receives. Make a fervent act of reparation, which will be the expression of the sentiments of the grief and sorrow of your heart. Make an act of reparation. Make a fervent act of reparation. To the Sacred Heart. Then make an act of consecration. 10. Make an act of consecration to the Sacred Heart. And offer yourself without reserve to him. The rest of the day should be spent in recollection. 10, 11. We're going to do this right this year. 11. Spend the day in recollection. I'll bet you very few in the whole world do this. Now watch this. The rest of the day should be spent in recollection, the whole or at least part of the morning being passed before the Blessed Sacrament. He's telling you, the whole, don't forget, this book was written at the request of Christ to the priest. Spend the whole morning before the Blessed Sacrament. While the whole day should be spent in good works, spend the whole day in good works. And especially making frequent acts of love. He says especially in making frequent acts of love. To Jesus Christ, according as each one's devotion suggests. On the evening of the feast, see why I say it's a manual? Make the meditation meditate marked out for the day. But if a person's condition, disposition, or employment does not permit him to do so, he can at least read it with attention and spend a few moments in silence reflecting on the sentiments of love which it has suggested. At some convenient time during the day, the office, the rosary, and the litany of the Sacred Heart may be recited. Say the office, the rosary, and the litany of the Sacred Heart. No one's doing this. Nobody. May be recited in some chapters of this or other books of the Sacred Heart may be read. See, the whole day is employed in this. And read some chapters of this book. To sum it up, each one should do all in his power to show Jesus Christ that he really loves Jesus and eagerly desires that he be known and loved by all. As religious have the inestimable privilege of having Jesus Christ in their own houses, they should show him extraordinary love and homage on the occasion of this feast day by passing before the Blessed Sacrament all the time that they are not occupied. People in the world should spend more time than usual in visiting our Lord, and both they and religious should endeavor to make with great fervor at least 5 visits for the following intentions. Aha! Wow. Make 5 visits. 16. Make 5 visits. 4. This is interesting. Very good. On the feast day. Okay, so what are we making these visits for? Number 1, thank Jesus Christ. For the infinite love shown in giving us the Blessed Eucharist. The second, make this visit to thank Him for all the times we have received Holy Communion. For thanking Him for all the times we have received communion. And for all the blessings that we have received. They're received. The third, to make acts of reparation. The third visit, acts of reparation. For all the outrages which he has received from infidels and heretics. Infidels and heretics. The fourth visit, to make reparation. By our profound respect and by every kind of homage for the irreverences, impieties, and sacrileges which our Savior has endured from Catholics. For irreverence of fellow Catholics. And number 5, this is beautiful, right? To adore Jesus Christ in the Spirit and all. The 5th is to adore. Oh man, I can't wait to do this. Adore Jesus in spirit in all the churches. I did this today. I said, Lord, I put myself at thy altar. Please accept me as if I were there in front of thee. And I thought about the Blessed Sacrament and the tabernacle. And I said some prayers. So I was there in spirit. Isn't that beautiful? Whether in town or country where the Blessed Sacrament is kept, but where the generality of people neglect it, or where it is badly kept, rarely visited, or universally forgotten. Where the Blessed Sacrament is kept, is forgotten. We're going to do this. We're going to do it great. As the love of Jesus Christ is the principal motive of all the practices of devotion, this devotion, many people, in order to make themselves more pleasing to Jesus Christ, add a number of other good works suggested by their love and tending to the same end. I don't think there'd be any more time to do anything else during the day. Some people on this day visit all the churches of their neighborhood. Can't do that anymore, right? Where the Blessed Sacrament is kept, or at least a number of them, and endeavor by their fervor and reverence to make reparation for the profanations and contempt which Jesus Christ has suffered. Others get some poor people to go to confession and Holy Communion on this day, and entertain them and give them alms. Many people accompany these practices of devotion with some austerities. All in general should endeavor on this day to do all their actions with a lively faith, great fervor, singular devotion, and very ardent love for Jesus Christ. And that's it. That ends this chapter. How to celebrate the Feast of the Sacred Heart. The next chapter is chapter 3. And I've made notes on this, but I've forgotten them. And we're not going to do this. We're gonna make it on another frame. I'm exhausted. Chapter 3. Page 180. Okay. Very nice. I look forward to seeing all of you again. I want you guys to be devoted with me to the Sacred Heart. I want you to pray to the Sacred Heart and offer everything through the Sacred Heart and ask for everything through the Sacred Heart. So everything you do is through the Sacred Heart, out of love and reparation. All right? So we'll see you on the next one when we do chapter 3. Okay. Thanks for watching.